Hello viewers, welcome to the session. Today's session is on Indian philosophical systems, that is called Indian Darshanas. The difference between Western philosophy and Indian philosophy is Indian philosophy is linked to even theology. It is linked to what is divinity also. And when it comes to Western philosophy, theology is separate from philosophy. Both are different strains. But in Indian philosophy, more or less, both mingle together. And in Indian philosophy is divided into two important groups. One is Astika philosophy or Astika Darshanas, and another one is the Nastika Darshanas. Astika, Nastika, both are somewhat different. Astika means asta, asti means yes, it is present. So Astika Darshana concentrates on the presence of something or presence of some being which is beyond the human perception. And one of the main important aspect of Astika Darshana is it affirms the authority of Vedas. Especially Chatur Vedas, Gita, Bhagavad Gita. And when it comes to Nastika Darshanas are, especially they do not affirm the authority of Vedas on human perception of God or beyond life and all those rituals and whatever prescribed ways. So that is the difference. The major difference is affirming the authority of Vedas. Astika Darshanas affirm, they authenticate the authority of Vedas. Whereas Nastika Darshanas, they do not. Among the Astika Darshanas, the first and foremost is Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya philosophy, it is propounded by Kapila. It is even more ancient than Gita, Bhagavad Gita, because in Bhagavad Gita itself, Lord Krishna mentions about the sage Kapila. And Sankhya philosophy, it says we have to have reason, and we have to concentrate on the aspects of Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha and Prakriti, in the sense consciousness and matter, energy. So consciousness with the help, consciousness and matter, both together create Jiva. And in Jiva, there is the generation of Buddhi and Ahankara. So that is Sankhya philosophy. And Sankhya philosophy affirms the authority of Vedas. And it questions, it neither affirms the presence of God nor reject the presence of God. It questions, it asks the individual to go for self-inquiry. See, that is the beauty of Indian philosophy. Indian philosophy do not say believe in something. Instead of believing in something, it says that you have to go for self-inquiry. You have to go for persistent seeking. And Sankhya philosophy also explains Trigunas. Those Trigunas are Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna, Tamo Guna, and liberation means being, beyond of these Trigunas. So that is Sankhya philosophy. Next comes Yoga philosophy. Yoga philosophy, we can see major proponent of this Yoga philosophy is Patanjali. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, those are aphorisms, 195 or 196 according to some texts. So Patanjali prescribes Ashtanga Yoga. Before that, Saptanga Yoga is also there, 6 limbs yoga is also there, 5 limbs of yoga is also there, 4 limbs of yoga is also there. So Ashtanga Yoga. So through this Ashtanga Yoga, with the continuous passage from Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. So ultimate goal is Samadhi. Ultimate goal is totally Atma mingling into Paramatma. Nirvikalpa Samadhi, we can say. So that even that 4 chapters, Sadhana, Pada, and completely it ends with Kaivalya Pada. So the first pada of Patanjali is related to Samadhi Pada. After Samadhi Pada comes Sadhana Pada. After Sadhana Pada comes Vibhuti Pada. Vibhuti Pada culminates into the final chapter, that is Kaivalya Pada. Kaivalya means what is a total liberation, Mukti. So here yoga's ultimate goal is leading the individual towards the Mukti. It's not just what I say, standing at asanas. In Western societies, yoga means, even India also, yoga means only they are what I say limiting themselves at the asana level. Asana is just a beginning. And even for asana, we have one has to follow yama niyamas also. So that is what I say yoga philosophy. And in yoga we have different streams: jnana yoga, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, according to the individual's nature. Because no individual is similar to other individual. We have diversified ways of thinking and characteristics in individuals. So to cater those needs, we have different systems of yogic way of practicing life. And next comes what I say Nyaya philosophy. Nyaya is an important philosophy in Indian Astika Darshana, which is propounded by Gautama. He is not Siddhartha Gautama of Buddhism. This Gautama is different. So Nyaya philosophy, it tries to show, it shows what I say that what is dharma and what is adharma, and what are the ways to live a successful life, a purposeful life in this world. So that is the importance of Nyaya philosophy. It's more theoretical. And next comes Vaisheshika. Vaisheshika means particular. So Vaisheshika Darshana, Astika Darshana, it is propounded by Kanada Kashyapa. Actually, in Vaisheshika Darshana, the important thing is atom concept is explained in this Vaisheshika Darshana. Atom means what I say, when you go on dividing the matter into the smallest particles. So the smallest one would be the atom. So that what I say here it is explained. And in Vaisheshika Darshana, Padartha Bhavanas are also explained. Padartha Bhavanas means 7 types of Padarthas. And the beauty of this Vaisheshika Darshana is some concept is there that is called Abhava concept. Abhava concept, it means recognizing the emptiness. So among the Padarthas, Abhava Padartha is also there. Abhava Padartha means that is unmanifested, still to be manifested. Still to be manifested means it is nothing. It is nothing means empty. Shunya. So from Shunya, the manifestation erupts. So that is the importance of this Vaisheshika Darshana. Next comes Mimamsa. Mimamsa is it is developed by Jaimini Rishi. Mimamsa. So Mimamsa says that first of all, the concept in Mimamsa is Pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means direct perception. So whatever the thing is there, if you want to understand that particular thing and if you want to gain the knowledge of that thing, we have to have direct perception, direct experience with that thing, with the sensual perception. With the senses we can perceive the external world. So it asks us to rely the sensual perception. And next, Anumana. Anumana is inference. So inference means coming to logical conclusion, cause and effect, and how the conclusion can be derived. So that is the second aspect of Mimamsa. And third aspect is Upamana. Upamana means getting examples. So, and what I say, comparing the things. So with the help of comparison, with the help of what I say, whatever we have inferred, we have to develop the knowledge. So it deals with the epistemology. Epistemology means that is the subject which deals with the creation of knowledge, the nature of creation of knowledge. And next, what I say, it comes Arthapatti. Arthapatti means the nature of deriving the concept, how to derive a certain concept, certain idea behind an essence, behind an object, behind an incident. So that is also part of Mimamsa. And next one is Shabda. Shabda, here it deals with the important idea behind Shabda is giving the importance of words and how words can be referred. So with the help of words, human language is developed. So words carry meaning. So words and meaning are both are interrelated. So that inference, that understanding of the nature of word is also very much important to create the knowledge according to Mimamsa philosophy. And the next one is Anupalabdhi. Anupalabdhi means Anupalabdhi, it is what I say, it is important thing. Anupalabdhi means absence. See, for example, if a person is suffering from fever, only fever is there. So what is absent? Cold is absent. What is absent? Shivering is absent. What is absent? Sweating is absent. What is absent? Frequent attack of fever is absent. So with these absences, we can infer that that may not be malaria. If all these symptoms and signs and symptoms are present, we can come to conclude that it may be malaria, and we have to go for further testing. So what is absent? With that absence also, we can develop the knowledge. We can understand the concept. So that is the importance of Anupalabdhi, and this Anupalabdhi is developed by Kumari Lavatta, especially this last one. And next comes after Mimamsa, Vedanta. In Vedanta, Vedanta gives importance to Upanishads. Vedanta means the end of the Vedas. So in Vedanta philosophy, the important thing is Brahma Sutras, Upanishads, Brahma Sutras, and the third one is Bhagavad Gita. So these three are given much importance in the development in developing Vedantic philosophy. Sri Shankara and Ramanuja, Vallabha, Madhvacharya. So all these people means they can be regarded as the proponents of Vedantic philosophy. And these three, Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads and Brahma Sutras, these three together called Prasthanatrayas. So by understanding the Prasthanatrayas, we can understand the essence of life, existential nature of life. So that is the crux of the Vedantic philosophy. And when it comes to Nastika Darshanas means which do not affirm the authority of Vedas. The first one is the more ancient than Buddhism and Jainism is Charvaka philosophy. Charvaka, the word Charvaka means churning. Churning, that is called rumination. When a cow eats grass, it goes and sits under a tree, and it brings back whatever is eaten, and it slowly once again it try to chew it in a complete manner. Then it takes in. So that is rumination. So Charvaka philosophy says that one has to ruminate over the idea of knowledge, over the idea of life, and one has to go for self-inquiry instead of resorting to any preconceived ideas. And Charvaka philosophy is important, and the philosophy is developed 6th century BC, and the major proponent of this philosophy is considered as Brihaspati. Brihaspati means not mythological Brihaspati, maybe he is a philosopher during that 6th century before Common Era. And here the important thing in Charvaka philosophy is it rejects rituals. Means whatever Vedic rituals they had been going on, these Charvakas, they reject that the nature of rituals, and whatever it also rejects the presence of Atma, something life and all those things. And Charvaka philosophy says that everything is Atma. It's not that Atma is something inside us and it is not visible. So whatever we see, whatever we perceive in the external world, each and every object is nothing but it is Atma. So that is the importance of Charvaka philosophy. And here next philosophy is important thing is Ajivaka philosophy. Next important philosophy is Ajivaka philosophy. Ajivakas or Ajivikis. So both are called Ajivakas and Ajivikis. So their philosophy depends upon they are religious mendicants. Religious mendicants means they observe asceticism. They move from place to place. And Ajivaka means livelihood. So from moving one place to another place, and they used to beg. So that may be their livelihood. And Ajivaka's main philosophy is predetermination or predestination. It means everything is predetermined. What good person you are going to become, what sort of bad person you are going to become, that is not in the hands of the individuals, but everything is predetermined. What sort of life an individual has to live, and the nature of existence, the goal of entire life, and the passage of time, the future, everything is predetermined. But they reject the concept of niyati. Niyati means fate. So it's not something like individual fate. It is collective fate. It is collective. It is collectively experienced existence. So that is Ajivakas. And Ajivakas they stand against free will. Yeah, free will is a concept that the creator of the universe, maybe it is a power, it is somewhat God. You may term as you may. So, according to this free will is that creative force has given individuals, human beings, a power or an option to choose life as they like, as they wish. So that is free will. And Ajivakas deny the concept of free will. They say that there is nothing called free will and everything is predetermined. So that is Ajivaka philosophy. And the next comes Buddhism. Siddhartha Gautama, 500 before Christian era. And Buddhism, it mainly focuses on the importance of 8 paths, 8-fold path it is called. 8-fold path means here it is said that right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right concentration, and right mindfulness. So these are the 8-fold paths enumerated by Gautama Buddha. So that is Buddhism. And next comes Jainism. Jainism is considerably contemporary of Buddhism, and according to some scholars, Jainism is more ancient than Buddhism. And Jainism Rishabhanatha, first Tirthankara, and Mahavira, Jaina Mahavira, last Tirthankara. And the Jainism philosophy based on Triratnas, Samyak Darshan, Samyak Jnana, and Samyak Charita. So Samyak Darshana means right faith, and Samyak Jnana means right knowledge, and Samyak Charitra means right conduct. So all these three together will help an individual to go for instance, leading a purposeful life. So these are important aspects of Jainism, Triratnas, and overall these are the Indian darshanas, Indian philosophical systems based on Astikatva and Nastikatva. Thank you very much.